Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for March 28th, 18. I'm the Nighthawk, and with our studio director, Miss Elizabeth Malone, on the panel. Just the Duke tonight. Dave Handy is down on the Big Apple at a car show. And I just talked to Elizabeth, and I said I won't say a word until next week, but actually I feel like talking about it now.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, we got some changes here.
Yeah. So next week we will have the show at 8 o'clock.
Regular time.
And that will be the last time at 8 o'clock. As you know, we are moving out of this location and we're moving to our brand new building here in the month of April up at Franklin Park West. And it's a massive move, and I'm the worst qualified person on the face of the earth to talk about the technology that's involved here.
No, your partner's worse.
Right. However, from what Elizabeth tells me, it's a lot of work starting from ground zero. So there will be no live programming on channel 15/16 for 3 weeks, meaning
basically the rest of April.
Right. Any live show that 15/16 does, nothing for 3 weeks.
And in our case, that'd be April 11, 18, and 25, no sports shows.
So we will be on the air next Wednesday, the 3rd, at 8 o'clock. However, and please note this, we will be back on the air Wednesday, May 2nd, at a new time. We sat down with the corporate folks, and they, after looking at the Nielsen ratings, we'll be starting at a new time effective May 2nd, and the show will still run 90 minutes, but the new start time will be 6:30 in the evening until 8 o'clock. And some of that is due to the fact, people coming home from work, and this might be probably a better opportunity for people to watch the show, especially like 50% of Franklin County literally works in Chittenden County, so they can throw us on during their supper hour. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to the new start time. So just please mark that down. And I know...
How can I also mention just next week, there'll be a St. Albans Today show as per normal for the first Wednesday of the month. And many thanks to Michelle Monroe, does a great job here on election night with their messenger colleagues. Michelle's going to be covering for me next week, but there will be a live St. Albans Today show next week, and that'll be the regular time for that show with one more sports show starting at 8 next week. So St. Albans Today next week, I guess, on our sister channel, 6:30 to 7:30, and Mayor Tim Smith will be on board, and I believe Bruce Cheeseman, the St. Albans Town Select Board Vice Chair, I believe is on board. I got a message, and I thank Bill Nyan for calling me back today, the new Town Select Board Chair, who I guess can't make it, so Bruce will represent the town next week. And many thanks to Michelle for covering, but that'll be the regular time for the last time for that show. Then we'll move that show up starting with the May show, May 2nd. Hopefully we can get our guests in here for a live show from 5 to 6, but that's a little ways down the road.
Yeah. So, hopefully the folks still can watch us, and our other hope is more people will watch us. So, as we said, last week was literally the start of our 16th season. So we still have a little juice left in our batteries.
Hopefully.
So, Duke, last week, you said you were going to wear your Duke hat, but it looked like a leprechaun hat.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. Maybe I should have.
So, I love my Celtic hat.
That's a good hat.
I asked my wife last night, do you like my hat?
Yeah.
And she said, be careful. You may scrape the ceiling with it.
Yeah.
Because
my hat was much higher than that.
Okay. And I know we're old.
That looks fun.
And I know when we were born, they were just inventing dirt. But the hats they make, or caps, they're just not normal looking hats anymore.
I tend to, when I'm I love thrift stores and stuff, usually they'll have a whole rack of hats. I'm always after just kind of the kind of hat my father probably wore, a cap, just kind of low-lying caps, and I always find something.
Yeah.
But no, that's a nice looking Celtics cap. You're fine.
So me thinks we have our first phone call of the night, and I am correct. Good evening. Get that bat off your shoulders and get the mud out of your cleats because you're the first batter tonight on the best damn sports show in Franklin County. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Nighthawk, the first thing you want to do with that thing you call a hat on your head, take it off and roll the visor up. That thing's sitting out straight like a board. You got to roll the visor.
I know, but that's the way.
You
They,
Look.
Isn't that visor concrete?
It's not working for you.
I know. It makes me look like I'm 16 years
I
old.
think you're okay.
Well, I won't go that far at 16, but you got to have a little roll in the visor.
Yeah. Okay. I will work on that. Thank you.
Okay. The first topic, I've got a couple short ones here. The first one really making a news is with your Odell Beckham.
Thank you.
There's a lot of press going on with him right now.
As there should be.
And, you guys talk about him every week. Obviously, he's in the news and kind of a bad boy of football or for New York. Kind of probably a pain in the butt for New York. The guy is so very talented. And he's kind of got you guys hostage as, I'm not stepping on the field till I get a new contract. And with the draft a month away, you certainly have options. It was said that he's not up for trade, but yet we are listening to trade offers. And, I think this whole deal with him has a giant brass sitting in the back room saying, geez, what are we going to do with him? I mean, do we keep him? Then we can go into the draft, putting our other puzzle parts together, or do we trade him, get what we can, and probably take a whole new direction on, which way our team is going? Because with him and Manning, I think, you still have a good chance, to win big. But, the guy is very talented. I know he causes a lot of trouble, but I really don't feel you guys can win without him. You've got to have that big threat, that big receiver. And, I guess the question is, Nighthawk, you being a New York fan, do you feel if they trade him, they're asking 2 first-round draft picks, and you're not going to get that. But say, somebody, the 10th pick in the first round says, we will give you our first-round pick, and Beckham goes, at that point, do you say, well, maybe we should head into the rebuilding stage, maybe we should draft a quarterback and tell Eli it's his last year, or what move do you think is going to happen, or what move would you make as a general manager?
Here, let me put my general manager's hat on.
This guy, couldn't you figuratively kill? Wouldn't you almost like this guy to just go away?
Here's the deal. The team that is most interested in getting Beckham, and it makes sense in so many ways, and they've actually called the Giants, and this team could be the surprise team in the Super Bowl next year, is the Los Angeles Rams.
I was going to say Rams.
The Rams are missing very few pieces, and if they picked up Odell Beckham, that could make them favorites to make it to the Super Bowl. Now, the Rams, as the caller said, if it was a top 10 pick, yeah, that would be a fair pick. Now, the Rams, being a good team, they're 23rd on the pick, so that's not a high draft pick. The Rams are going to have to kitty a little bit more, perhaps a second-round pick the following year or something of that nature.
Have you seen any express interest by them in
by
Beckham?
the Rams?
Yeah.
Just from what I read, I don't think the Giants really want to publicize too much. As they said yesterday, he's still on the team.
Yeah.
But the Rams are really interested.
Wow.
And, of course, the Rams, as I predicted, picked up Sue this past week. And I'm telling you right now, if any team rushes 100 yards on the Rams this upcoming season,
doing pretty
I
well.
will be shocked. Now, I talked about Aaron Donald on the show. best defensive player in football.
Really?
If he's not the best player overall in
Really?
football, he is that good.
Wow.
They got him and Sue. Sue is 20 or 31. Still, when he wants to play, and he will want to play with the Rams. In fact, Duke, he signed with the Rams lower than he could have gotten elsewhere, but he wanted to play on this team. And they've got another nose tackle. It's a three-headed monster, Michael Brookings, who's almost equally.
Michael Brookers.
Brookers is almost as good as these guys. And they've got the best running back, unarguably, in Todd Gurley. Jared Goff, in his sophomore year last year, made leaps and bounds. It's a well-balanced offense. And the thing is, if you went on Main Street, corner of Lake and Main right now, and asked 100 people who scored the most points in the NFL last year, probably 90% would say the Patriots.
Yeah.
It was actually the LA Rams, okay? But they still could use a top-notch receiver. Now, Odell Beckham loves having the attention drawn upon himself.
Yes, so.
Okay, what city better on the face of the earth than Los Angeles?
Of course, New York's not a bad place to get publicity, but sure.
It's showtime out in Los Angeles. So
do you think this
I am
happens?
hoping that Beckham gets traded. And quite frankly, if they gave me 2 footballs, a jock strap, and a helmet,
So you'd almost give him away
I would
at this
give him
point?
away. But the Giants will get something
Sure.
for him. And what do we do with that pick? We draft a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Now, Leonard Parent, if he calls tonight, kind of owes me an apology, I believe, because I think he was scoffing at me last week about
when you said he might be gone.
about the Giants trading down their pick. I couldn't detail all my information. However, what happened at 8 o'clock the following morning? Jason Pierre-Paul was traded down to Tampa. So what do? We will end up drafting another defensive end somewhere.
Yeah.
But long story short, caller, the Rams are the obvious choice to go, but there's a half dozen other teams where he would fit in. And I, as the Giants, as big as the problems we had last year on the field, we have to start in the locker room first. And that's why they signed Jonathan Stewart, a great running back from the Carolina Panthers, whose better days are way, way behind him. But it's that locker room right now. And after seeing Beckham, either with a prostitute or he said it was a model, him with that great big doobie in his hand, and she had 4 lines of Coke on a little mirror. I mean, I think that was, I was going to make a joke, the final straw. Get it, Duke? The Coke, the straw.
Good.
That's the final straw with the Giants.
And Gettleman's not a guy Gettleman's not going to mess around with this guy, right?
The ownership of the Giants are old. Gettleman is 66.
He doesn't.
We don't need these punks.
Gettleman doesn't screw around with stuff like this, right?
And the thing, too, about Beckham is he's on the final year of his contract. Obviously, if they make that trade with L.A., the Rams are going to have to settle up with a contract with him. They're not going to give him a first-round pick.
And again, realistically, I mean, the Giants, you don't have any realistic hope of a very good year, potential deep playoff team. You have about zero hope of that.
I would say zero because, I mean, the aforementioned Rams 2 seasons ago.
So what's the big deal? If you lose Beckham, it's not like you're probably not heading for a great season anyway.
And caller, I haven't forgotten you, and I'll give you 5 minutes here. For me, as a lover of the New York Giants, and as I said, I was wearing a Beckham jersey a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I wear it because I paid money for it. I don't like the guy, and the caller is correct. If he's not the best wide receiver in football, he's definitely the top 3, right in the category of Antonio Brown and Julio Jones. Maybe the young coach, Sean McVay, who's all of 32 years of age, can settle him down. It'll be a good landing spot. But he's worn out his welcome with me, and I'll take the draft picks. Thank you. Caller, I need some air. Go ahead.
It's still there, I hope?
Yeah, I think it's a bad marriage. Now, I'm kind of thinking, and you know better than I do, this really started a couple years ago in New York, and your coach got fired instead of Beckham being disciplined. Remember that one game in particular
Yeah.
Wasn't Beckham fighting with the cover man 2 or 3 times that game?
I think the cover guy, the corner, was Josh Norman, who they and Tom.
Oh, was that Seattle?
Oh, I think he was playing for Carolina at the time. I think he played with the Redskins last year, but it was just very bad for the NFL to see that type of behavior. And Tom Coughlin said he, on field level, he never really saw it. And but if you
he kind of fell on the sword for him, and later became the sacrificial lamb.
Well, Caller, you just made a nice statement. Fell on the sword. The Giants have fallen on the sword so many times that they're dead. They're dead with Beckham now.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time to part company.
So you think you guys would just go ahead draft? You would have the second pick? I've looked at some mock drafts. The last 3, I've seen 3 different picks for the Giants. They had obviously the running back. Then they had Quinton, the best lineman, offensive lineman. And then I saw today where they were talking the best defensive end, Bradley Chubb.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of uncertainty right now. Usually you feel you get close to this. There's a pecking list or pecking order, and I really don't think that has happened now. There's certainly quite a few things I think that are going to happen between now and draft day.
Yeah. Color, just one last thing. If the Rams do, in fact, get Beckham, what I think the domino that will fall is the Rams will cut Tavon Austin, who they traded a lot of picks to pick him maybe 4 years ago in the draft. He was a top 10 pick, and they gave him a huge contract 2 years ago, and he never lived up to the contract. So I think if Beckham does go there, Austin will be out of the picture. Now, as far as the Giants' number 2 pick, I will sit here and let Leonard Parent scoff at me all he wants. I still believe the Giants will be drafting or trading out of that number 2 pick. And with the departure of Jason Pierre-Paul, I will still contend that we will trade our pick to the Buffalo Bills, who are in dire need of a quarterback. We'll get their 12th overall pick. They also have the 22nd pick in the draft. We'll get their 2nd round pick, and they have the 1st overall pick in the 3rd round. We'll get those 4 picks and the 12th pick to get the replacement for JPP. Is we'll pick up Marcus Davenport, defensive end, University of Texas at San Antonio. And with the 22nd pick, we'll either take Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, or Rashad Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. We're 3-13. We need bodies. Now, Bradley Chubb, they say he's better rated than the 1st overall pick. It escapes my head right now. He was defensive end and was 1st overall pick. Chubb is more highly rated. Great pick. Saquon Barkley is the best running back coming out of college in this past generation. A great pick. From right here, if Sam Darnold is not available, if the Browns pick him 1st pick, the Giants won't go quarterback. That would be the only quarterback they would take. But I'm in love with Quentin Nelson, the guard. As far as I'm concerned, him and Barkley are the best 2 players. And a guy like Quentin Nelson, after his rookie contract is up in 5 years, then you give him a 7-year contract. Then you have him on your team for 12 years. And they say this guy is capable of being a Hall of Fame player. A player like Barkley, you'll wear the hell out of him for 5 years. Then you let him go somewhere else. You just run him into the ground. But I'm into draft picks right now. We need a lot of parts, and I would trade the pick to.
Yeah, imagine if they did trade Beckham like to the Rams. We don't have a 2nd round pick, but we have 2 or 3 thirds. Imagine like if a 1st and 3rd went for him. I mean, you would have 3 or 4 picks if
Yeah.
you did trade down with Buffalo in the first round, and you can certainly rebuild a team in a hurry,
Yep.
getting all those draft picks like that. I mean, when you think like, wow, this year we've got the Rams turned it around in 1 year, as did I think Tennessee did a good
Yep.
job
Yep.
turning their team around, as a few of them did. So it does show you that rebuilding can happen basically overnight.
It takes one off season to rebuild. And I would bet you if you checked, half the teams that made the playoffs in 2016 did not make it in 2017. I mean, it just happens. And it looks like the Rams right now are on the team of the rise. They have a upcoming third-year quarterback. Todd Gurley missed the whole first season because of a knee injury. And that's how great they thought of him. He came out of Georgia with a bad knee, and they still took him in the first round. No problem, sit out the year. And this kid's unbelievable. Of course, I boycotted football last season because of the radicals.
Speaking of the Rams, they're building the new stadium that the Rams and Chargers will share.
Yeah.
Is that the case?
Yeah,
Not ready for another.
It's pretty cheap. I think it's only $2.5 billion.
Wow, not ready for another
No.
couple of years
No,
or
the,
so. But
Char-
the Rams and Chargers will both
Yes.
play there, obviously.
The
right?
Rams are playing in the LA Coliseum, where the Chargers are
The LA.
playing in a soccer stadium that holds about 28,000
But they'll both
people.
be in that new stadium when it's
I mean, look
ready.
at the Rams, and that's a great point. Bring a star like Beckham, okay?
Yeah.
He will eat that Hollywood crap right up,
Yeah.
spoon after spoon. And the Rams are going into the most expensive sports facility.
Is that right?
in the
$2.5
world.
billion,
I
you
think
think?
it's $2.5 billion. Of course, it's going to have like malls and all kinds of stuff.
Probably
there.
Patriot Place times 10 maybe. huh?
Exactly.
Interesting. Hey,
Now,
Bobby,
Jason Pierre-Paul, what was the deal on him? Was that a contract cut, basically, or do they feel they had enough of him?
That was
little of both?
typically contract because they still have some moves in mind. Of course, they traded for linebacker Alec Ogletree from the Rams earlier this winter, and that's costing them $10 million per season for the next 3 years. And that was almost like a contract dump for the Rams. The Rams are thinking big.
Well, what that was Phillips is our defensive coach.
Yeah.
And he went with a 3-4 alignment, and Ogletree was a little bit light,
Yep.
a little bit too small. People were kind of running over him, so he was more fit for the 4-3 alignment,
Yep.
and which the Giants do use. So he will be a good fit because he played very well for the years we had him until they did this. You know, when you switch your defenses around, the 3-4 and a 4-3, you need different sized people.
Oh, absolutely. Completely
So
different.
that's what happened to Ogletree. Had we stayed with a 4-3, he would still be wearing a Ram uniform.
Yeah.
One thing about the Rams, I still think that Coliseum looks so cool when they play out there in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I mean, it reminds me of years and years and years ago when I used to watch them. And if you look, that does look like a Coliseum.
Yeah.
It's a lot of new stadiums are going up, but I think a lot of them lose their face of a sport stadium. You know, I mean, some of them get so fancy now they kind of take away from what's really going on there. You know.
I go down
Don't forget the Dodgers playing there with left field about 250 feet. Dodgers played there a couple seasons, right?
Right. The Dodgers moved out to L.A. in
57?
58, I
58,
think.
and the Giants, of course,
And they
the same
played in the
frame.
L.A. Coliseum.
But no, I agree. It is kind of a cool-looking place.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that was built in 1932 for the Olympics.
No, that could well be.
So it's a very old facility.
Yeah. But that L.A. did not have an NFL team for decades is just so mind-blowing. Now, of course, they've got two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, so baseball season tomorrow.
Okay, I'll let you guys go, and great show, and good luck with your new facility. One question I had, will this still be recorded, your new shows, once you move and played on Friday or whenever?
Oh, well,
I assume it'll, so...
like right now, we're live Wednesday at 8. They repeat the show midnight Thursday night, and Friday morning at 10:30.
So yeah, the times might maybe the same times, Elizabeth.
It'll be the same.
Nothing changes on
Caller,
that.
I have a question for you since I know you're a longtime viewer. Will the time change going from 8 o'clock to 6:30 disrupt your viewing habit?
Good question.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, certainly not this time of year, but, on a hot summer night, if, that water on Lake Champlain may be a little bit tempting,
And that's
No, I've been a viewer. I look forward to the Wednesday night show. It's, one of my favorite shows during the week. You guys put on a great show. I'm a sport fanatic like you guys, and, we get to throw our opinions around, and, there's certainly plenty of viewers that watch every week. Not everybody calls like I do, or Leonard, or Fitzy, but, you guys have had a great 15 years, and, I think whatever time you're going to be on, your viewers will continue to follow and watch.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I told Elizabeth. I think during the summer, for the 3 months of summer, 6:30 may be a tad bit early because the sunset is later and it's warm out. But being a big picture kind of guy, I think 6:30, for the other 9 months actually may work out better.
Yeah,
so
summer may not be the best, but
right, summer
better, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly right.
Hey, thanks for being such a loyal viewer.
Okay, guys. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we'll catch you guys later.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll see you. Thank you.
Dude, before I go on, speaking of good viewers, I want to say hello to a longtime viewer. He's a great guy. His wife's a wonderful lady, Michael and Patricia Flanagan. That would be Kelly Flanagan's parents, Ricky Schreiner's wife. And of course, Ricky being the second greatest athlete in Franklin County, next to me. But Mike and Pat Flanagan are just great viewers, and he was kind of funny. I spoke with him yesterday. He said, a little shy to call in. And I get that from a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And I told him the answer, but I always use, I get it, because being in such a small community, people pretty much recognize your voice, and they get a little nerved up in the case they say something stupid. Now, I say something stupid about every week, but it doesn't bother me. I'm noted as being stupid anyway.
Hardly.
But
no, we appreciate everybody out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, there's still people after all these years that, we enjoy the show, and I get it. I know a lot of folks simply don't want to call. But if Leonard Parent has the courage to call in, and I doubt if he does, call me.
You think he'll agree with you that Odell will be gone, or you hope will be gone?
I'm hoping he
Why?
thinks
Why? I mean, why keep him around? Assuming he gets something for him. You'd even give him away at this point, pretty much.
I would, but I know we're going to get something for him. As the caller said, this guy is extremely talented.
What's he making? What's his contract this year?
Well, he's complaining that.
And that's the caller said, talk about. That's his line, right?
His
line is he won't play unless he gets.
He's in the last year of his contract. He gets close to $8.5 million, and he's saying all these other receivers out of his draft class have already signed up, but. If the Giants don't trade him, they're going to say, are you out of your crazy mind?
Yeah.
Look at your jaded history. Yeah. We're not going to invest in a guy like you. You're a child. If I had a 5-year-old that acted like you, I'd sit him in a corner.
Who's his agent? Does his agent try to make any sense out of him?
That
or not?
I don't know. I probably should know, but I don't know.
But he's talking about not playing, so just eating $8.5 million. Do you take him? I mean, of
course not.
He'll obviously jump in.
And I'll tell you what, if he plays that game and starts sitting out training camp, and when they start saying, well, you're going to be fined, I don't know, $5,000 a day, they better stick to that. They better not, 10 days down the road, forget the fine. And it's actually probably closer to $10,000 a day.
Do you think that's $8.5 even guaranteed? So in other words, if he shows up for work, he ought to be, if he's got a tenth of a brain, should be all set for life if he plays one more season.
Now,
Now, this guy, again, I'm not a Giants guy. I really dislike
Right.
this guy.
You believe you probably could get by with 8.5?
I'd like to think I could do it.
I could get by with 8.5.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, $8.5 million. Do you? Yeah, she's doing that. She may need a little more, but it's not really about the money. It's the ego. Who is making the most?
Right.
They're athletes. They want to be number one.
Yeah.
He has said
Unreal.
at least $20 million a year.
Wow.
For I think he wanted a 7-year
Where
contract.
is this guy? Amazing.
Yeah.
Just how clueless this guy is
Yeah.
about.
So
Amazing.
I'm telling you right now, the NFL draft is in 4 weeks, and it's going to be very exciting. I think
Wow.
there's going to be a lot of trades. So
I guess I'm feeling, just to mention the Pats for a second, I guess I'm feeling a little better. I freaked out a little bit when in one day, Malcolm Butler, Danny Amendola, Nate Soder maybe a couple days before, and somebody else hit the road, but it sounds like they picked up some decent bodies. It sounds like, and Julian Edelman is back. Brady, again, I guess Belichick was his classic self, or whatever. Was it an owners meeting the other day
Yeah.
or something? But,
now, if you want to know who your starting left tackle is going to be
Yeah.
in September, I can. If you really like to know, I'm going to tell you.
yeah.
Colton Miller, left
Oh, yeah.
tackle out of UCLA. That will
So that'll be their.
He will be available to you. Kid's pretty good, and he should be able to slide right in.
Is it
that
you
spot.
thinking that is their first draft pick or not necessarily their first draft pick? Don't you think? I think they got to be thinking. Wouldn't you think they'd be thinking about a quarterback?
Maybe second round.
But I mean, at some
Belichick has
point.
had luck drafting quarterbacks.
Well, Jimmy G was what, a second round?
Second round.
Not to mention Tom Brady, of course, sixth
right.
round.
Where's Garoppolo out of?
Eastern Illinois, I think.
Didn't Tony Romo play there?
Huh, boy, maybe so.
Yeah.
So, but wouldn't you think if you're the Pats, you might be thinking quarterback?
Right. You know.
Of course, Kraft has been saying, every big-time organizations, they're always feathers get ruffled a bit, but the line, of course, is that everything's fine. Belichick sounds like he was just classic Belichick, just mumbling, saying nothing. This is Ben Volen in the Globe today. The headline on the front page of the sports section, serving goose eggs for breakfast. We all know how this dog and pony show unfolds for Bill Belichick at the annual coaches' breakfast for the NFL owners meeting. He shows up 20 minutes late and finishes 10 minutes early. He mumbles and grumbles and makes it hard to hear what he's saying, even when you're standing right next to him. He says absolutely nothing of interest. He scoffs at legitimate questions. This year, instead of sitting at a table like the other 31 head coaches, he made reporters stand and form a circle around him, ostensibly to ward off other reporters floating around the room. Belichick's boorish behavior at this event is nothing new. He gets away with it because he wins a lot, a little more. But this year's different. Patriots aren't coming off a Super Bowl victory this time. There are real issues swirling around the team. A large portion of the fan base wants actual answers about some of Belichick's controversial decisions that may have cost the team a Super Bowl. To wit, why didn't Malcolm Butler play? And I'll just one more sentence. But Belichick isn't giving an inch. Classic Belichick.
And we will never know the mystery of Malcolm Butler.
Boy, it sounds like it.
We'll go in our graves not knowing what happened. Now,
Sounds
just
like it.
the
And
aforementioned.
I'm not, for the record, I'm not convinced if he played. Your defense was so pathetic. Who knows? But it was kind of weird.
The aforementioned Colton Miller.
I'm sorry. Where is he? Where does he?
UCLA.
Okay.
He's all of 6 feet 7 inches.
Really?
310
Wow.
pounds.
Wow.
So, and I'm projecting he will be available for the Pats at that point. So,
Interesting.
but football, it stays in the news 52 weeks
Yeah.
a year. So, well, the obvious direction to go in is into the diamond baseball.
Boy, tomorrow everybody's playing for the first time in years. All teams are playing on opening day.
I correct you,
Really?
my friend.
Is that right? Is somebody not playing?
Technically, you were correct till about 6 hours ago. The Washington
somebody-
Nationals
yeah.
at Cincinnati Reds has been postponed
Okay.
because of rain tomorrow.
I had in my notes that
Okay.
the games in Cincy and Pittsburgh look very shaky
Okay.
tomorrow.
And
is that right? Interesting.
the great Max Scherzer, Cy Young Award winner, going for our Nats. And
And that was the Nats at Cincy, right?
yep. And for whatever reason, and I still don't know why this happens. How teams have off days after the opening day.
The Red Sox always, yeah. And
boggles
when they
my
open
mind.
at Boston, they have whatever opening day is. The next day is almost always an off day.
Every team's like that. So
well, in April, it's
it worked out.
Some sense.
So the Nats will open up same time for.
That got canceled today.
Yep. 4:10 Friday. In the forecast for Friday in Cincinnati, 55 degrees and rain.
Really?
So.
Wow. And meanwhile, of course,
I'm pumped. I already set my DVR, and baseball starts tomorrow.
So, Hawk, I assume there were 2 games at the Big O. I assume one game last night and the other tonight. I assume Toronto 2 games.
No, I think
was it 2? Was it earlier?
Gosh, I know last night.
Must have been last night.
I actually recorded the CFCF.
I watched CTV. I watched
Right.
some of their stuff.
Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
Right, I saw
think
that.
the game was 0-0 in the 9th inning.
Huh.
And
really?
little Vladdy, he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
And he's
It's not going to tell me he hit a home run.
He hit a home run.
Really?
Yeah. And I think he's the 3rd overall best prospect in baseball.
really? I saw him speaking through a translator to the media.
And he wore jersey 27, just
Really?
like his dad did in Montreal.
So that game was. Is there another game tonight?
Well,
I assume. Scott, there are 2
I don't know
there
if
are 2
it
games.
was the night before or if it is tonight.
Whatever. So 2 more games.
Yeah. And
Excuse me.
And of course, Vladdy Guerrero, I believe, just got in the Hall of Fame in the last couple of years or so.
I think last year. I think.
Never learned English.
Yeah.
Great guy. He brought his mother up from whatever Dominican.
And lived with his
Lived
mother.
with his
right?
mom in Montreal. They loved Montreal.
Yeah.
And just never. And he was a popular player, but obviously, when you don't learn the language,
never had any.
You're on right. Never. He didn't want the notoriety, and it appears that his kid doesn't speak English either. So,
And unfortunately for you, especially being, the greatest Expos fan, I don't get the sense they're moving. Again, you may disagree. I don't get the sense that there's much forward movement toward. In fact, I even saw Warren Cromartie interviewed, and he didn't even sound as optimistic as he had sounded in the past.
I haven't heard anything in the last 12 months.
I saw Denny Coderre, now the former mayor, a huge guy
Right.
trying to bring Montreal back. I think it was Warren. Somebody said, "Hey, we need someone with a bunch of money here."
But, and the Red Sox will know this when you watch the games. The Red Sox pitching staff, lower tier, is decimated with injuries, but the schedule gods were on their side.
Yeah.
They open up against Miami.
2 series in Florida. Yeah, the 2 Florida teams.
2 of the worst teams in baseball. Miami, probably. I don't want to give a Nighthawk guarantee, but I can see them losing 110 baseball games this year. So the Red Sox,
the Marlins.
Red Sox are just going to eat them for lunch. Red Sox are going to eat Marlin for lunch.
Yeah, I'm never
then
optimistic
they're playing the
about
Rays, the poor, no money Rays.
Yeah.
They'll win 2 out of 3. With I expect the Red Sox to start season like 5-1.
Yeah, your hopes are whatever. Your expectation is way higher than me, of course. But of course, you're back in Boston in early April. Great, lovely time to be playing.
Who,
Fenway.
when, and who do you open up against?
Well, it's obviously next week. They play the 2 series in Florida. I might have glanced at a schedule, Hawk. To be honest, I don't remember. Obviously, next week, whenever those 2 series. I assume the first series is 2-3 game, but boy, that's weird. Thursday, why would they take an off day down there? Is it going to be like Thursday, Saturday, Sunday? I'd maybe have that in.
Yeah, I probably should have brought a schedule. Now, the Red Sox pitching staff.
Yeah. Boy, there are a couple of interesting relief. My man Brandon Workman, is he back in Pawtucket or is he gone?
He's back in Pawtucket.
Boy, 2 names I don't even know. Bobby Pointer and Marcus Walden I don't even know these guys. Like I said, I'm only now, with the season about to start, paying a little attention to baseball. I just have not been paying any attention.
Of course, with Erod, again, the softest player in baseball on the DL with a right knee issue. Yeah. I'm not sure when he comes back. Drew Pomerantz he's got a left forearm issue.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound overly serious. I think they just want to keep him down there. He'll miss a couple turns in the rotation, but he should be back in mid-April. Yeah. But you've got Brian Johnson.
Who's been pitching, who's looked good in
is your
in,
fifth starter,
Florida.
and the number 4 guy, Velasquez. I don't even know.
Hector Velasquez.
Right, I don't know the guy. Be honest with
They
you.
got him out of the Mexican League for chump change and stuff. Hasn't, he's had a couple starts. Hasn't. In fact, I love reading. He pitched pretty well. He gave up for like 4 runs in 4 1/3 innings in his last spring training start. And I'm reading he looked good. Didn't sound too good to me. But they need some bodies at this point.
Yeah. And Duke, and we all expect the Red Sox to make the playoffs one way or another. The
guess.
pundits have them as a wild card.
Yeah.
And after seeing the Yankees starting lineup in print,
Yeah.
I was shuddering
bad, huh?
after I read it. So tomorrow, opening day against the Blue Jays, they will trot out this starting lineup. The batting order is Brent Gardner, Aaron Judge batting second,
Batting second.
Giancarlo Stanton third, DH, or Stanton's DH, catcher Gary Sanchez cleanup, Aaron Hicks, Didi Gregorius, a young slugger that nobody knows about because he played for the D-backs. They got over the winter in a trade. Third baseman Brandon Drury, veteran second baseman. I like this guy a lot. A veteran National Leaguer, Neil Walker. And batting ninth will be their first baseman, Tyler Austin, because Greg Bird is on the DL.
They give USI Sports Illustrated
Yeah.
has Messrs. Stanton and Judge on the cover this
Yeah.
week. Boy, that sounds like a pretty impressive lineup. Of course, the Red Sox lineup isn't
It's
shabby.
not chump
J.D. Martinez,
change.
gives them
Either.
a little more oomph.
You
Kudos to the Yanks. I just happened upon a story about John Sterling starting his 30th year.
Okay.
And I had no idea. I guess Dave, maybe yourself. I had no idea he was as old as he is. I think he turns 80 this year.
Are you serious?
And he said, hey, retire? Are you kidding me? My voice is as good as it was 30 years ago. But the story was hooked on. He has a home run call, for each of the Yankees, A-bomb for A-Rod. And I guess he's got one for Stanton, who's, I guess, Hispanic, Mexican, or whatever he is, Latino. But I guess he's got one maybe in Spanish, but he wouldn't give anybody a preview. But Kuda, I like Sterling and Susan Waldman. I think I listen to those guys.
Go ahead and give me a Yankees win.
Oh, God, yeah, no.
You don't have the energy to do it. Yankees win. Yeah. So the Yankees rotation,
Wow.
most of the experts have Chris Sale winning the Cy Young this year. And if he just pitches well the last 6 weeks,
could do that.
Luis Severino, who a lot of folks say he could contend for the Cy Young. Tanaka second, CC third, Sonny Gray fourth, and Jordan Montgomery fifth. I think all things being equal, I prefer the Red Sox. When healthy, starting staff. But this is going to be a terrific race. And, of course, Baltimore, Tampa, and who else am I missing? Toronto will be way down in the standings. There. So
Red Sox manager Alex, and again, I'm just now paying attention. I just haven't been paying attention, but Alex Cora seems to be getting good words. Just sounds like the media, I'm sure, probably particularly. I mean, John Farrell, hey, pretty good team. They won 93 games the last 2 years, made the playoffs. Hard to beat up on John Farrell too much. But it just seems like Cora is just a fresher face. I mean, what's the word for Farrell? He just kind of seemed program, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he just kind of got the official, it just sounds like Cora is much more apt to give you an off-the-cuff, just a more candid response and not being so careful about what he's saying and stuff. I mean, he's a much younger guy, former Red Sox player, but at this point, and it's early, hey, they haven't even played their first game yet, but it sounds like Cora's getting very good words so far.
And the problem with the Red Sox last year wasn't so much on the field. They win 93 games last year?
93 games for the second straight year.
And I'm seeing predictions.
The whole Eckersley, David Price thing, and that hung over the season.
That locker room was a mess last year. They lacked leadership.
Yeah.
And
again, and also blamed on, in fact, I read a story today in the Globe or Herald saying, had Farrell handled the Pedroia, Manny Machado thing early, when he slid in and got hurt and then said, don't look at me, Anyway, that whole thing was weird. And Farrell just wouldn't get involved in stuff like that.
Yeah, and David Price, who we've always had good words until he was a member of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
If he just learns to keep his mouth shut, don't even say good things. Just keep your mouth shut, David, and go out, pitch, and try to earn your $31 million a year. We'll be fine with that. And I say the same. Pedroia, to me, he's the only stain on that team. I've never been a fan of his.
I have been, just because I love how he plays the game. Nobody plays harder and stuff, but yeah,
He did a poor job with that team as team captain, longtime team captain last year. He should have put a squash.
Even Nomar, I might have mentioned that on the air one show. Even Nomar, what happened to him with the Red Sox will always blow my mind. I told you, if we had Dan Shaughnessy here, my first question was, what the heck happened to Nomar at the end of his Red Sox career? This embittered guy, and Pedroia was picking up a little bit of that. Maybe with a new manager, maybe he's comes back to life.
Listen, Nomar was a thoughtless first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
As his career was progressing with the Red Sox. Now, I think the rumor we heard was he was so drugged up with steroids, and we get off that, he just was not.
Just got very, very weird.
So, Duke, some news here.
Yeah.
And I'm always interested in money, especially when it comes to baseball with no salary caps. The Yankees are on track to open the season this week with the 7th highest payroll. Their lowest
Red Sox,
ranking
of course,
since
1.
1992.
Oh, really?
The Red Sox will top the major leagues.
237?
223.
All right,
that bothers me when teams go over the cap.
And the cap is what, Hawk?
I think it's 197.
Wow. I think I've said on air before. That's why I had mixed emotions about J.D. Martinez.
Put him over the cap.
Especially with Sam Travis. Who hit 6 homers in spring training? Remember, you asked me before, Duke, is Sam Travis a guy who they're hoping will come in and hit some homers? No offense to J.D. Martinez, who sounds like a great guy, but no, that's embarrassing to me that they're spending a mega fortune like that.
J.D. Martinez probably will hit 40 home runs this year, but the Red Sox, to me, kind of had a knee-jerk reaction because a lot of these guys, like Mookie, hit 24. They just kind of they didn't stink, but they didn't have great years last year.
Yeah.
But a guy like
it's still won 93
there's two games on the Red Sox who I think could be good major league players.
Yeah.
One being the aforementioned Sam Travis.
You're high on Rafael Devers.
Well, Devers will be great at third, but the other guy that won't see much playing time, and he did make this squad.
Moreland, maybe the forgotten guy now.
Blake Swihart. I
told you, I did think they were going to keep him. I just didn't think they could let him go in. I guess Holt made it too.
Right. But they have too many, like Holt and
Mitch
Nunez.
Moreland looks like the loss who had a solid year last year.
Right.
Great signing, as you said, for relatively
6.5
chump change.
Yeah.
But boy, he seems like kind of the lost guy at this point.
Yeah, but you said something
But injury
kind of smart, which I rarely ever say, but you did say something smart.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, you said things like that usually work themselves out.
Better
All
to
it
have
takes,
too many.
my friend, one injury.
Sure. And Hanley seems to be Ramirez. Good attitude, had, I think, a decent spring, but who knows?
Any of the 3 young phenoms in the outfield go down, Martinez will take over.
But I feel a little bad about Moreland, who in last year, solid year and stuff. Boy, it's hard to picture him getting a ton of at-bats at this point.
Right. If I was the manager of the Red Sox, I would put Moreland at first. Now, the reason why Hanley is playing is because he makes $18 million a year, or is it $20 million a year? And Moreland's making $6.5 million. But
we'll see. Things tend to play out okay sometimes.
So let me just finish.
And your Nats, how
on this?
You psyched for your Nats?
Let's see. Red Sox are at 223, ending the LA Dodgers 4-year run as a top spender.
Really? Wow.
The San Francisco Giants, second at 203.
Really?
The Cubs are set to be third at $183 million.
What, so the Dodgers are away?
The Dodgers and Washington Nationals will each be at approximately $180 million.
Wow.
The LA Angels will be next at $170 million. Listen to this. The Yankees will be around $167 million. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that
their
is
lowest
unreal.
payroll since 2003.
I mean, with folks like A-Rod finally gone off the books.
The Yankees haven't been this low since 1992.
Huh.
And let me just go down here to see the paupers of the league. Shockingly, the Oakland Athletics always at the bottom.
Yeah.
And the Chicago White Sox are projected to have the lowest payrolls at $71 million. So when the Red Sox go to Comiskey
Wow.
Park,
That's unreal.
they're playing a team that has a third amount of payroll as what they do.
Speaking of the White Sox, it was a nice story I saw. I guess probably on happened a rare time when I'm watching ESPN, unless it was actually I think it was Network News last night. It was a former Chicago White Sox groundskeeper. Did you happen to see that story?
He was in
The guy
jail for
spent
23 years.
23 years for, as it turns out,
For
a crime he didn't
for
commit.
rape, and they
finally
did a DNA test.
evidence. Hey guys, sorry for the last 23 years, but they welcomed him back to the ballpark, and he'll, I guess, resume his old job.
Right, he was a groundskeeper.
I was
as a-
impressed. The guy didn't even see him in the interviews. Boy, talk about a right to be unbelievably bitter. He just seemed like he was happy to be back at the
He
park.
said, it's not doing me any good being mad at what's happened in the
Nice-
past. I'm
nice-
just looking for the future.
nice story.
However,
Yeah,
if I was Cook County,
yeah.
I would probably give this guy $10 million a year. I'd probably
Well, you
cut
gotta
him a
think
check for
he's-
$230 million from
Yeah.
the taxpayers of Cook County.
Yeah.
To take away a guy's life.
You would assume, they didn't mention that. Wouldn't you assume this guy, I would hope, would get a few mil anyway,
Yeah.
I would hope.
A lot of mil. If David Price can get
23
$31
years.
million throwing a baseball,
Yeah. 23
I think he
years?
went jail at age 29. I mean, literally the prime of his life, 23
So
years
52
lost.
or something, low
Yeah.
50s?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
It looked like a good guy, but hey, so good for him. I'm glad
Yep.
he's back to his old haunts here.
Yep. Now, Duke,
Yeah.
Angels outfielder Mike Trout
Yeah.
will be the highest paid player for the first time
Oh, is that right?
at $34.08 million.
Wow. Maybe for
Dodgers-
the last year with your guy maybe succeeding him
Yeah.
next year.
Dodger pitcher Clayton Kershaw drops to second at $34 million after leading the list for 3 years. Arizona pitcher Zach Greinke falls to third at $31.95 million, followed by $30 million trio of pitcher Jake Arrieta of the Phils,
Yeah.
David Price, and Tiger first baseman Miguel Cabrera. And the average salary is on track to be around the same as last year's opening figure of $4.45 million average price. So, and I even think I could get by with a 1 year salary of 4.45.
I guess I should apologize to Hector Velasquez. His last outing was 4 scoreless innings versus the Cubs on Tuesday. But in reference here, Hawk, the Red Sox, 3 starters on the DL, Drew Pomeranz, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Stephen Wright, all supremely important to the team. Reading a Globe story, all should be back by end of April, although in Wright's case, of course, he's got 15 games to sit out because of the domestic incident.
3 start. But the Red Sox have that important word when it comes to pitching, depth.
Yeah, they got some
They
depth,
have it.
which as we talk about,
and
you
Duke.
better have depth.
Duke, just say between, how do you pronounce his name?
Velasquez. Velasquez.
Okay, the Mexican
Hector.
guy, Hector. I'll call him Hector. Hector and Brian Johnson. If one of those two perform well in the next 3 weeks,
Brian Johnson had a very good. He had a couple starts last year, at least one. He's pitched pretty well at times. Elizabeth is throwing this at me. Facebook question: have you been following Todd Rowley's son, Cal, baseball collegiate career at FSU? For Mr. Tobias McGuire. We do. I think Leonard, of course, is
Leonard
a guy
called
who
in 2 weeks ago.
We did talk about that a couple of weeks ago.
And in fact, I talked to his grandmother yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So again, I don't think I have no more info, but hopefully we'll get back to that. But again, we did touch on that, and Leonard's very good about keeping
Leonard
track
keeps
of
up
that.
on Cal
Thanks
Raleigh.
for checking in. We'll try to give you maybe, we'll try to give you.
From what I heard, he's having a good year at FSU, and
That's
as
big,
Leonard
that's
mentioned,
big time baseball.
big time.
guys play a
he
ton of
had an
games.
off year with the Seminoles last year and did not perform well during the summer in the Cape Cod League, but he's turning his game around this year. And if he does perform well, he more than likely will be drafted this upcoming June.
Big time. They get pretty good crowds. I mean, ACC, SEC, that's big time college baseball. They'll get, I think, 5,000 to 10,000 fans at some of those games.
Yeah, and it's funny, Duke, when UVM dropped baseball, I don't know, what, 10, 12
Well,
years ago now?
Yeah, good. The signs are still up. I see bring it back signs. I still see them.
It was hard for me to complain about it
Yeah.
because I remember us talking about it way back when.
Yeah.
As many sporting activities we've been to over the years, I had never set foot at Centennial for a UVM baseball
I
game.
didn't even, of course, I haven't even seen a basketball game in years. I see a few hockey games courtesy of you. Hey, speaking of hockey, you paying any attention to the Frozen Four countdown? And any at all? I know
No.
Northeastern went out, who we saw, the one game I saw with
Yeah.
you. They lost a first round game. Still haven't won an NCAA game since maybe the 1980s or something.
A playoff game? Yeah.
Playoff. But so you're not paying any attention
Haven't
to that?
really, boy.
I've come across it just, very ever so briefly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, gosh, now that you mention, I
Yeah.
think their Final Four is this
I could
weekend.
probably, I think it is this weekend. I could probably, I'm trying to think
Probably
where.
Friday night with a championship game Sunday.
St. Paul, Minnesota, maybe, but
Yep.
I'm not even sure.
Now I
about
can
it.
tell you, Nick Haddon used
friend
to
Nick?
go
No,
to the
Nick-
Final Four.
His good buddy Martin Wenner when Marty was
Dr.
still
Martin
with us.
Winter
Yeah.
and maybe a couple other fellows. Every year
Marty's kid, and
they traveled to the Final
you're
Four.
right. They were very solid
And-
Frozen Four people.
It was certainly nice. Like I know one year it was down at Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty good spot to be in the first week of April.
Okay, Hockey One, I can in fact give us an update on this.
Hit me with your best shot.
I guess we are down to the Frozen Four. I'm right. It is at St. Paul. Thursday, we have Thursday and Saturday. The Thursday semis, Ohio State versus Minnesota in the first game. Notre Dame versus Michigan in the second game. Thursday at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul with the finals on Saturday. Semifinal winners 7:30 Saturday
And
night.
of course,
so we're down to
the
the Frozen Four.
Irony of Notre Dame, they were in our
Former-
conference
former Hockey
in
East,
Hockey
yeah.
East for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you go to see them at Gutterson and just
the
see their
unis are
the
really
unis
cool.
in the Golden Dome.
Yeah.
It was just cool. Like I seen Michigan
Yeah.
play here at UVM. And, the Wolverine helmets, like the football team, they had the same exact helmets. And I saw Ohio State. In fact, I'm not really following it, but I did
Yeah.
see highlights. And their hockey helmets are like the football
Right.
helmets with the little decals on them and stuff.
Speaking of Michigan, maybe a good chance to jump into the Final Four on the hoop side.
Yeah.
The Michigan's in there. Yeah, tough game. Of course, I love it, and I'd say the same thing had the Dukies beat Kansas in OT. But it's funny. Obviously, somebody wins, somebody loses. But I love kind of the analysts. Duke loses in an unbelievably close game. Did you see Grayson Allen's last shot?
I did.
That almost went in twice. But Kansas wins, and good for them. I mean, a legitimate win and stuff. Oh well, Kansas had the better team. Hey guys, talk about a flip a coin.
Absolutely. Listen, and I told Mike Flanagan, I said, I've known Duke for 40 years. I love the big fella. However, I'm going to be honest
Probably
with him.
pretty happy that shot didn't go in, right?
I watched the second half of the game
Yeah, Dukies didn't play
because
didn't play well.
I had an emotional
You're right.
interest.
Actually, you watched more than I did. I was busy with my kid. I listened to most of the game. Of course, Donnie Marshall was the radio color guy.
really?
Former UConn guy.
Yeah, he's
who
good.
clearly is no fan of Duke, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just saw the last 5 minutes on TV in the OT.
You know how I feel, and we won't get into it, about the school of Duke in Kentucky bringing
Yeah.
all these freshmen in.
Yeah.
And I told Mike Flanagan, I said, Mike, you and I could jump in a car after the TV show Wednesday night, go down to Durham, and look for these 4 freshmen, see if they're still on campus. And I guarantee you, they're gone.
I
However,
don't think they're gone, but I understand your point.
so I said, I watched that second half because I was rooting for Kansas. I just have no.
And Kansas is a good team.
Not that I care. I would have rooted for anybody.
A better team.
So when Kansas won, I watching it by myself, and I actually gave it a fist pump, and I said,
Fine.
"Good for college education."
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying Kansas probably shows up to class all that much themselves,
understand.
but with that being said,
Of course, their next game's tough. I felt, having Duke lose, I felt not quite as bad because the next game's Villanova, and I kind of think Villanova's the best team in there. I talk about a great team. Jay Wright's done a great job with that team, and again, another team of guys who have hung around for a while. Of course, they won the championship 2 years ago, so I would make Villanova the favorite for what little that's
didn't
worth.
Jay Wright used to coach at BU?
At BU. Well, I'm not sure
I
about
bet.
BU. I think he's been at Villanova for 17 years, but maybe I'm. You know,
Well, I bet. See, I miss the days of Stat Boy. He could look it up.
No
but I
offense
think
to
Jay.
Elizabeth.
I think I saw Jay Wright in the sidelines at the Patrick Gym. Now,
Oh, yeah.
the lines for
Rolly Massimisa's former team, the UVM grad, and Rolly, of course, won a championship too.
and I remember, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, Rolly brought Villanova
Right.
up here.
Yeah.
And
That was cool.
they had so many fans, they were sitting in the aisle.
Yeah.
And the fire marshal
Oh, is that
called
right?
UVM
Really?
the following morning. and
Never,
said,
never again.
That was it.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah.
There was not enough security.
Right.
This was a complete fire hazard.
Right.
But Rolly, being a former graduate, probably back in
Yeah.
the 50s of UVM.
But the great team in the Final Four, I mean, the one true Cinderella, obviously, Chicago Loyola. And I've heard some interviews, of course, Sister Jean
Right.
being the national story. A great story. And this is a very good team. They actually won, which you maybe read or heard. This Chicago Loyola actually has a prior NCAA championship in 1963 with JFK as president. They won the national championship then. So again, Michigan, Chicago, Loyola,
So Michigan,
and Kansas, Villanova in the other semi.
6:09 start Saturday night.
Yeah, for the
And
for,
they're playing where?
San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Where Kansas won some years ago.
So number 3, Michigan. At number 11, Loyola Chicago. They're favored Michigan by 5.5.
Yeah.
Then
I'm
tip off.
I'm guessing Villanova is favored over Kansas by 4 or 5.
8:49 tip off.
Yeah.
Number 1 Villanova at number 1 Kansas, or versus number 1 Kansas.
Yeah.
Villanova by 5.
By 5. That sounds about right. Duke, for the record, was I was guessing Duke was going to be a 1 or 2 point favorite over Kansas. I think I saw a 3-point
Yeah.
favorite.
Now, to sit here and say Kansas is better than Duke, I would never say that.
Pick 'em. I mean,
Because
two
if they
good
played
games.
10 games, they'd probably go 5-5.
Yeah, probably.
And again,
Dukies didn't play.
Grayson Allen.
Didn't play a great game. Grayson didn't have a great game. He's a tough guy.
But that shot, that first bounce off the rim, but when they hit the other side of the rim, second time, I said, that ball is going in. So, and I don't like Grayson
It
Allen,
was a tough shot.
and he's still...
Well, he will for the record, and I know you'd say, well, Duke, it's only because of how things transpire, but for the record, he'll walk away from Duke with a degree in psychology, and I think I've seen him on an all-academic list. I think he's a smart kid.
And all I can say to that is, congratulations.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
heard
you.
a good John Feinstein, CBS Sports Minute. Feinstein, of course, a former Dookie, but a very good, one of the great writers of sports books, I think, ever. I mean, he's very good. And he's a Dookie, but he had a good Sports Minute on Grayson Allen, obviously going back to the tripping situation, but just saying how he became the latest J.J. Redick, just a Dookie, who folks love to hate anyway, and just picking on him in particular. And Feinstein was a fair comment saying, hey, didn't have maybe a great career, he had a good career, but even if he finds a cure for cancer, you can be sure the folks who hate Duke will not give him any,
So Grayson Allen,
What do you think? Late first round or second round, more likely? What are you saying
he's
for him?
being mocked at 24th, basically where he was last year to Minnesota. And the guy can shoot. Okay?
I would think he's got. I would think he's. could make a life.
If you're a 24th overall pick,
I think he's 6'5". Because he looked. I think he's 6'5". I didn't realize he was that big.
Grayson Allen is 6'5", 210.
Well, I think he's got. I think he'll.
And the
have a
thing that
life.
surprised me about him,
Yeah.
if they would have won the other night
Yeah.
and played Saturday night, he would have surpassed the 2,000-point mark. He was only about 20 points away from 2,000 points.
Really?
He's not a bad basketball player, and I've told you before, and I don't play this white privilege card crap, but
You think that doesn't hurt him?
Put him in a locker room.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the NBA it's littered with African Americans. The only whites primarily are European whites.
Yeah.
And Grayson Allen, I bet, comes from an affluent family, and good for him.
Yeah, I suspect it's a decent family.
But I will say this also: I've never heard a bad word about him from his
sounds like he's a
former
good
teammates.
teammate.
Nobody's ever dissed him, so he might be a nice second unit player.
Yeah.
And let me say this
I'd like to
about
think
J.J.
so. I mean,
Redick.
boy, tell me J.J.
Redick was a good player at Duke.
Yeah.
Not great, but a pretty good player.
No, pretty good.
And
pretty good.
he took time to develop, and I'm saying 3-4 years until
Yeah.
he made himself into a credible player.
Yeah.
Now he's one of the toughest players in basketball.
Good.
Philadelphia
Making the playoffs for
team
the first time
on
in
the
years.
rise right now. Philadelphia is going to be a great,
Joel
great
Embiid
team.
and company, yeah, for sure.
Great move. They gave him a 1-year contract at a ridiculous price.
15 to 20 mil,
I think
somewhere
it was
in there.
like $23 million because they knew to get him in the locker room to get these young kids, focused.
Especially
and I
with
think
their
he's
number one guard guy who's done. Did he finally
he
play
played
the other day?
The other night got 10 points.
right.
Markelle Fultz, which we'll get into. But I think J.J. Redick has missed a lot of time with an injury
Yeah, I
this
guess
year.
he's missed some time. But
but-
he's had a very decent.
But one
career.
thing, the interesting thing, and basketball will be over in 5 nights, is once the draft takes effect, the thing that's sticking out in my mind is, number 2 to Memphis, and I'm sure he'll go, Marvin Bagley. Great offensive player, great skills.
Yeah.
However,
Better play,
he
better
crippled
defense.
Duke's defense where he forced Coach K's hand into playing a lot of zone
Although
because
when they-
Bagley was not capable of
But he
playing
wasn't the.
man-to-man.
You're right, but I mean the fact that Coach K hates zone. I mean,
Yes, he does.
That took a lot, but that was a smart move. But it wasn't just Bagley; they were being shredded
Yeah.
and stuff. That turned him into, an almost Final Four team.
And let me say this about the Duke 4 freshmen that'll all be going in the first round.
Yeah,
I mean, I could fall in
Wendell
love.
Carter
I
Jr.
could
looks
fall in
like
love with Duke if all these 4 guys stayed 3 more seasons
Yeah.
and let the great coach Mike Krzyzewski. These guys know how to shoot and play. Let them teach them how to play defense.
Sure. But I trust you're not blaming the players for moving on and getting big. But you're not blaming the players.
No, they're
obviously.
forced into going to college because I can assure you, back in the days when Kevin Garnett just why go to college? I'm going straight.
Kevin went straight from high
Right.
school.
There were a lot of guys that went straight from high school, but they're forced into.
That's such a tough issue. It seems like nothing's changing.
We
I
can
guess.
spend on it. But the thing that's on my mind, Duke, is about a month and a half ago, the FBI came out with all these star players, freshmen playing right now.
Including a Dookie, Wendell Carter Jr.,
Right.
who looks like he may be a very good pro.
This guy is
He may be
19,
a better pro than Bagley.
but he's got a body of a 29. He is built like a man. And
It reminds me a little bit of Justice Winslow, but I think a better than Justice.
they've got him slotted going to Cleveland, which would be a good spot
Yeah.
for him. He's 6'10", 260.
Wow.
Bagley is 6'11", 235. And I'm telling you, there's not an ounce of fat in Wendell Carter.
Yeah.
But the guys I'm looking were all in, I was going to say indicted. That's not the right word. Implicated.
Implicated, I guess is the word you want.
DeAndre
Yeah,
Alton
so.
from Arizona was a name mentioned.
Yeah.
Wendell Carter from Duke was mentioned. Colin Sexton, 9th overall pick from Alabama was mentioned. Kevin Knox from Kentucky, the 10th overall pick. A lot of these guys were mentioned as getting $100,000 underneath the table. And when they said the FBI had over 3,000 hours of film about
Really?
this stuff. Now, I don't know if it's going to disappear
And that all just
like the
kinda
scandal down at
during March
North.
Madness,
Right.
that issue kind of
It disappeared.
magically goes away, but it'll come
But
back.
my thought process was just say Duke had won.
Yeah.
And Wendell Carter was found
Just
to
a
take
bit-
100.
just
Would they
change-
have to
change-
vacate that
Change it a
title?
bit. Well, given the fact that UNC didn't have to vacate anything over an egregious
No.
academic, I suspect it wouldn't have. But yeah, that would have tainted things a bit.
I know Reggie Bush vacated his Heisman Trophy
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
they gave his parents. He went to Southern Cal, gave his parents a brand new, $500,000 house and this, that, and the other thing. So
No, once all the excitement, and March Madness is fun. I mean, it's a fun tourney. I mean, who doesn't like March Madness? They get it done in 3 weeks. I mean, just look at some of the games, some of the incredible. I mean, we talked about obviously UMBC, unreal. That's on Virginia's, forever. That's Virginia, the team that was the first number 1 seed to lose to a number 16.
yeah.
And UNC, the defending champs, they got was it Texas Tech?
Yeah,
They
early.
got killed in Charlotte.
Yeah.
They got killed.
Yeah, and for next season, Duke University,
What have they got? Like the top 4 guys? Or
not the
something?
top 3 and the top 10. They literally have the top 3 high school standouts coming to Duke University. And I'm saying Mike Krzyzewski doesn't sweat all that much. I bet they call him before he calls them.
And again, I'm not on his. Again, he's just doing to me. I mean, you deal with
Hey,
what.
listen, you want to make sure the pros.
But I would say, I mean, he said a bunch of, not that he's complaining. He's got incredible talent. I think maybe most people thought Duke had the most talent, but unfortunately for Duke, it's freshman talent, and that hurts you a little bit.
Duke, you're absolutely correct.
So if you're Coach K, I mean, even I'm wondering, gee, Coach K, I realize you can get the pick of the litter here, but and he does have some. He's got some guys coming back who are decent players, but. Geez, I'm almost wondering, boy, Coach K, maybe you ought to make more of a, maybe if you can grab a couple top guys, but maybe a couple more second-tier guys who might hang around for a couple, 3 years might do you more good. But
and I won't argue that point, and I don't think anybody can, that Duke has the most talent. But they're all
probably.
18,
they're
19 years old. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It's 2018 right now. 2 years ago, 2016.
Yeah. Of course, Duke won the championship in 2015, courtesy of Grayson Allen.
In 2016, who was the United States High School Basketball Player of the Year?
In 2016?
Yes, 2 years ago.
I guess probably a guy who ended up on, Jamil Okafor?
Jason Tatum.
Oh, is that now Jason? God, I forgot.
Now, he's on the Celtics, averaging close to 14
playing
points.
some pretty good ball for the
And
Celtics.
with all the injuries.
Hasn't he's kind of rebounded after hitting the wall for a while?
He did hit the wall.
Isn't he playing some very good ball?
He's kind of broken out of his shell. Not that he hasn't been playing well.
But he's got more aggressive, hasn't he?
That's the word.
Yeah.
They need him right now with all the injuries. Like tonight, they've gone undefeated on the West Coast, but some weak teams. They're playing in Utah tonight, which I will make a point.
Quinn Snyder doing a great job as coach of Utah.
Very good coach.
He's Larry Brown's son-in-law.
I made a prediction probably the first week of January. I did not give a Nighthawk guarantee. I want to clarify that I circled the calendar, and March 28th was going to be the night Gordon Hayward was going to make his appearance.
Is that right?
Now, I've heard nothing about Hayward the last couple of weeks.
Is he with the team, or who knows?
I'm not sure.
I'm not aware he is.
But the Celtics right now, boy, that's a good segue from college basketball to the NBA. Celtics are playing
some
well.
Pretty good ball.
Tonight we're in Utah, which and they start at 9:30.
9:30.
We'll predict we won't win because Marcus Morris, who's played really well, he stepped up his game.
Yeah.
He's got a bum right ankle. Played last game, didn't play the game before. The previous game he scored 30 points. He's not playing. Big Al Horford may not play. They may just pack it in tonight.
Are they beat up like everybody? Are they more beat up, I assume, than most teams, or is everybody?
That
everybody
I couldn't
gets beat
honestly
up?
answer.
Steph Curry, he hasn't had the healthiest year.
Yeah, right. You're right. And
the Celtics do seem to be beat up pretty good.
And surprisingly,
you didn't even mention Kyrie. Irving out for 3 to 6 weeks with a procedure on his knee?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Do you think we even see him again this year? Or not?
We will see him.
Yeah.
What did I do with my standings?
You think we'll see him?
We won't see him in the first round.
Right.
And
who are they likely to play in the first round? Hawk, at this point?
I've
got it in the paper. If that does me any good.
I should have some colored tabs here because
I mean, a first round series they presumably should get by okay, or who not necessarily.
What the
hockey?
heck?
I mean, hockey you never know.
What the heck? I'm so well organized and I can't.
Yeah, you do.
Find that. I see my.
I've got NBA. You want the Celtics division?
Well,
here?
the point I want to make is check the Sixers.
First, Toronto.
Look how close the Sixers are to Cleveland.
Toronto, Boston, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Indiana, Washington, Milwaukee, Miami.
Right.
Are the playoff teams.
We would play the 7th place team.
So looks like I'm sorry. So it'd be 1-8, 2-7.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I guess it would look like.
But the team to really look for is
that could change.
The Sixers have won 7 in a row.
Wow.
They could supplant Cleveland for the 3rd overall seed.
Wow.
And I'm telling you,
what about Toronto? What about Toronto?
Toronto.
Talk about a team preseason. Were these guys getting any attention?
No, they were,
Some?
but Dwayne Casey is a very good coach,
Wow.
and they play as a team.
Yeah.
And their second unit is very strong.
Yeah.
In fact, we play Toronto might be this weekend, Duke.
Yeah.
But again, we don't have all our troops
Yeah.
available. But Kyrie is out for 3 to 6 weeks. Again, probably won't play first round. Smart is out with a broken thumb.
Do we even see him again? Who knows?
I think that may be a same scenario of not playing the first round. Now, with that being said, we said how great Jason Tatum has stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, he
and
has.
he
It's
has
impressive.
because
Yeah.
he's turning into the man right now.
Yeah.
And the other guy, former first round pick out of Louisville,
Yeah.
is Terry Rozier. Is playing.
Yeah, what about-
These kids are getting time to play.
Kudos to Danny Ainge. We've talked about this before. When they drafted, how psyched were you? Weren't there
No.
boos in the Celtics draft party crowd?
I was booing at my house.
I don't think
What?
I booed, but I said Terry Rose out of Louisville.
Yep.
Kudos to Mr. Ainge.
I'll tell you what.
about a
Terry
good ball
Rozier
player.
is so quick.
Yeah.
When he goes at bed at night,
Yeah.
he will shut off his bedroom light
Yeah.
and get underneath the sheets before it even gets dark.
You
That
ready?
is how quick he is.
You ready for Tatum's, just his last game, 102-94 win over the Suns? Talk about more aggressive. Weren't you saying, Jason, you got to shoot the ball more? How about 10 of 18, 1 free throw, 6 rebounds, 23 points, 4 fouls in 32 minutes. That's a pretty good game.
You know, Jaylen Brown, first round pick out of Cal.
Jalen is just now coming back, right?
He had a concussion,
Concussion.
came back this past week.
Boy,
And,
they were.
and
they
the
had been
thing
beat up.
about getting Tatum, we had the first overall pick
Right.
in June.
Great decision.
We wanted no part of Markelle Fultz, guard out of Washington.
Yeah.
Didn't want him.
Yeah.
Tatum, if we could not consummate the trade with the Sixers,
Yeah.
we still would have
Still
taken
would've
Tatum at first, undoubtedly.
If you can believe Danny, which I
Right, and I believe.
Yeah.
And I'm who in the heck was the idiot father Ball, Lorenzo
Yeah.
Ball went to L.A.
Imagine having
we
the
wanted
fa-
no
imagine
part
having the father
right,
to deal with.
Right, wanted no part of him. We got Jason Tatum, and again, he was high school player of the year 2 years ago, and here he is leading his team on an injury-riddled ball club right now. And this guy is good. Now, my complaint with him earlier, very athletic going through the paint.
Yeah.
Didn't finish a lot. Like Kyrie's a great finisher.
Yeah.
John Wall from the Wizards is a great
Yeah.
finisher. But when I watch it, I say, Nighthawk, settle down.
Yeah.
He just barely turned 20 a month ago. He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
You know, give him a break. He's 2 years removed out of high school.
Yeah. Wow.
But
No, this guy looks
but
like
with the
he's got a
luxury
pretty
of
good career coming.
and he has got such a wonderful vertical leap when he does this jump shot.
Yeah.
This kid has been blessed twice over by God.
No, Danny, good job. From what we're seeing, talk about the guy he should have gone after and did go after.
And a quality individual, too. You don't hear
okay.
a bad word.
Yeah.
So the Celtics are a fun team. Now, Marcus Smart, I have to apologize to. When he got hurt earlier in the season,
Yeah.
I said, free agent after this year.
Yeah,
let him
he's
go.
gone.
Let him go. Not a
Yeah.
great shooter. He's a very good defender.
Yeah.
Well, with Smart gone, they started to lose.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me, he's one of those unique players that when he's on the court, even though he's not a good shooter,
Yeah.
he makes the players around him better
Yeah.
by his prowess as a defender.
Yeah.
People feed into that, and if he's not the best defender in basketball at the guard position,
Yeah.
very few people are better than him. So I'm at the position right now, at all
Saying
costs.
definitely keep him.
You've got to, because we traded Avery Bradley in the offseason,
Right.
and they were like neck and neck who was the better defender, and Avery Bradley just turned himself. Another
Avery,
first
I
round.
haven't even noticed. Avery had a good year.
Well, if you remember, he was traded
He was traded.
to Detroit for Maurice Morris. Detroit traded him during the trade deadline
Right.
to the LA Clippers and got hurt. Now he'll be.
And he got hurt.
He got hurt. He will be a free agent. I would love him
Really?
to don a Celtic jersey again.
Have you heard
However,
him?
salary
They don't-
cap
they don't
issues.
have the money-wise, they can't do
Al
it.
Horford, who's a very good player, the truth be told,
Yeah.
overpaid
Yeah.
to get to get the what do you call it again? The when you get paid the most. But in order to get Holford, they had to give it to him.
Yeah.
And Kyrie Irving is getting paid a ton of money. He'll be a free agent in 2 years, and he'll be able to back up the Brinks.
He'll be a free agent after next season.
If it's next
after
season?
his second year,
After
I
his
think.
second year, it could very well be. And of course, Gordon Hayward, they signed to an extension, correct?
I mean, certainly,
the max
I assume they
contract is
signed
what I'm
max
thinking.
contract.
Max contract. So when
Yeah,
you've got
Gordon's
three
around
guys
for a
on the
while.
team that will be under a max contract, it's pretty hard to bring even guys in like Avery Bradley who might settle for $20 million.
You haven't heard
a
a thing about Avery coming back.
Oh no, nothing. They
happening.
well, they traded him because he was getting $7.5 million, which everybody.
Kyrie. I mean,
Right. They conceded that was the best contract in basketball because Avery Bradley was one of the most underrated,
Yeah.
best all-round players in basketball.
Yeah.
But it's been a fun year. Now, as I always say, I just love watching the Celtics because of Mike Gorman, Tommy Heinsohn.
Yeah, and you're not.
Poor Tommy.
You're seeing. I mean, you see Tommy back in the studio, but not even all the time.
Rare in the studio
Is that
now.
right? Rare.
And I think Tommy's in his 80s now.
I think we're talking 80s.
And do the math. 1956 at a Holy Cross.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until this year. He beat out Bill Russell as Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
So 19.
Yeah, we're probably
let's
talking
do some math.
low 80s
So
or
they played 4 years of college. So say he was 22,
So probably
born in
21 or
1944.
22.
So that would be 46. He'd be 56 plus 18. 56. That would make him.
No,
Wait.
He's older than that. Just go. The Celtics drafted him in '56. He was probably 22. Then.
2, right. So that would be
56. You got
34. He was born in 34.
You got 52 plus 20, 62 plus 22.
Right, 84. That sounds correct.
We're probably
right.
talking low 80s.
Right. So, I don't know
right? So you're not seeing
how
him
much
like that.
longer Tommy is going to be coming down for breakfast. But I miss him. And Brian Scalabrine
What a
does a
career.
terrific job.
Yeah.
But there's nobody like Tommy Heinsohn. Now, that Celtic game, Utah, I believe is a national game.
Oh, yeah.
Boring as all hell watching the national announcers.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
And I'll tell you
now,
whether it is or not. Boy, your Canadians, Nighthawk, anything to even talk about?
let's
those
jump on the
guys?
ice. The Montreal Canadiens organization are idiots.
Yeah.
They had their game of the year the other night.
A 4-2 win, the game they won 4-2.
Exactly, against the Detroit Red Wings.
A game they should
We
have.
were
You would have liked them to
dying
lose.
for the 5th worst record in hockey, so we could have the 5th best player in the June draft.
Huh.
So what do? We're neck and neck with the Detroit Red Wings, and we go out and we beat the Red Wings. You can't say throw the game. What you can do is bring guys up from the American Hockey League, which is only a short drive down the road. Their AHL team is in Laval, the
really?
Laval Rockets. Throw the game, okay? Now, they're 1 point above Detroit right now with 5. Each team has 5 games remaining. I want to get to that 5th position. Now, the real news, the Boston Bruins.
What about? I actually watched about half, including the last period and the OT and the shootout last night against a very good Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, Jets
team
have been great this
at
year.
Winnipeg. Boy, the Bruins. And what about picking up Ryan Donato? All he's done is score maybe in every game he's played.
Yeah.
And last night they got 1 goal. He got him up in the shootout, 1-0, and then Winnipeg got the last 2 goals in the shootout.
So I've been saying since January 1st,
Boy.
the April playoffs opening round, it'll be a matchup between
I don't like Toronto.
the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins.
Well, the Bruins are almost caught up to Tampa Bay.
But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Boston Bruins can help themselves. They need help from no one. The game of the season is, the schedule right in front of me, is tomorrow night. If you're going to only watch one hockey game this year, tomorrow night, the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Where's the game?
That game is...
Bruins back home, by the way?
Is it home? They're home tomorrow night. Now, the Bruins are 1 point behind Tampa
Are there
for the
games played even?
first overall spot, okay? Game in hand. And they play Toronto, Duke, next Tuesday,
Wow.
April 3rd, down in Tampa.
Wow.
Okay? So the Bruins now, Bruin fans out there, it goes simply like this. Do you want to open your series against the Toronto Maple Leafs?
No.
Or would you rather go, if you get that number 1 seed overall, against the New Jersey Devils?
Haven't the Devils been playing decent hockey?
Well, they're all good teams,
Not a
but
bad team.
I certainly would rather go
I'd much rather play the Devils than Toronto.
against the Devils. So the remaining schedule for
So we're down to about 5 games or so, huh?
you got Tampa. Florida's going to be. Listen to this, Duke. The last week and a half here, they've got Florida 3 times, and Florida's like 3 points out of a playoff spot, so they're going to be trying. They got Tampa, Florida, Philly, Tampa, Florida, Ottawa, and I think one more game with
There's about
Florida.
a bunch of injuries, but I guess everybody can say that.
And the Bruins did a good job. They extended Chara
Oh, is that right?
for next season.
Chara's been playing. I mean, weren't you thinking a couple, 3 years ago that he had kind of was starting to fade away?
He's a bottom tier defenseman, which is fine at age 41, and they signed him for $5 million, and he's got a chance in performance to pick up an additional 1.75.
But no, I'm impressed. The Bruin. I mean, this has been for folks who follow big time sport. This has been a big story. Again, take away the Las Vegas Knights coach. And wouldn't Bruce Cassidy be
I would give it
obvious coach of the year?
Winnipeg.
I guess Winnipeg.
The Winnipeg head coach.
Top 3.
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up.
Cassidy's great. I mean, a different style from Claude Julien, who I like. But Cassidy's not afraid to. He's a pretty candid guy. He'll give you a pretty straight answer.
So you tell me, and I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Claude Julien was fired.
Any pressure in Montreal?
Fired by the Bruins.
Picked up the next
Cassidy
day, right?
comes in.
Yeah.
And turns the Bruins right around.
Yeah.
Julian comes in, I think he signed Valentine's Day of last year.
Yeah.
Literally 5 teams offered him within 24 hours a coaching job. We'll fire the coach. We want you.
Yeah.
Canadians fired Michel Therrien, gave Julian a 5-year contract. So the start of the new year, where are we? 6th worst record in hockey.
Is he getting?
I don't think so much. I think
just the acknowledgement it's just a pretty bad team.
It's the general manager, Marc Bergeron, and he has to have a great summer this year. And again, I tell you every week, the reason we don't win is not that we're not trying. We just don't have any talent.
It's not a good team.
It's not a good team.
You got to be pretty pessimistic about the Habs at this point, aren't you?
They're going to have to do a lot of work this summer to get back in the fray. And we got about 3.
I feel bad for the folks in Quebec City. They got a beautiful new arena with, at this point, just about 0 prospects to get a team.
Dude, how could any small, and I mean very small city like Quebec City, spend $500 million on a state-of-the-art hockey arena with no guarantee of getting an NHL franchise?
They've got a minor league team, I assume, that plays there?
Probably. Now, from what I'm getting is the next NHL team will be Seattle. They want to get another team out west to balance the East and West divisions at 16 and 16.
We'd love to see one of the Florida teams just move to Quebec City.
Well, either one of them to move up north. And Carolina doesn't do well in attendance either.
Carolina's not doing well.
And I simply think, not even playing ice hockey, if you're not, as a kid, playing street hockey and don't really know the game, you're not really going to.
But I feel bad I'd love to see, Canadian cities coming back here after, some of these cities losing teams to places like, Dallas? Give me a break.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see Quebec City come back and get a team, but it doesn't look good now.
Yeah, because I remember when Dallas got their franchise.
Talk about a great place.
Dallas took over the Minnesota North Stars, came down to Dallas.
Okay.
And to me, the obvious choice to call Dallas, they call themselves the Stars. They should have called themselves the Dallas Lone Stars.
Yeah.
Their nickname is the Lone Star State.
Yeah, that would have been good.
And Minnesota, and I love great nicknames.
Would have been a good
the
name.
North Stars, right? They're the further north team in the continental U.S.
The U.S. certainly, yeah.
And 1 week, maybe for a half hour, I want to do nicknames of teams that have got great nicknames and teams that have horrible nicknames. Like the Boston Red Sox. I still don't know what a Red Sox is. What a Red Sox means, what a White Sox is, what a White Sox means. Now, the Boston Red Sox used to be called the Boston Pilgrims. Historical content? I think so. Or
Of course, the other
gonna laugh.
Boston Major League team, Boston Braves, lucky
Right.
we don't have those guys. There'd be controversy about their name.
And the other one, and I would go with this, the Boston Baked Beans.
Yeah.
And I'm totally serious. The Boston Baked Beans would be a great name. But there are just certain teams out there that absolutely make no sense. Of course, when the New Orleans Jazz, great nickname for New Orleans,
Yeah.
moved to Utah, didn't change their nickname, still called the Utah Jazz. I don't know many swingers of jazz out in Utah, especially that heavy Mormon population out there. So, Elizabeth, are we down to the final seconds?
I think so.
Okay, so with that, I will conclude this show with my good pal, the Duke. For Misty Elizabeth, I'm the Nighthawk. Till next Wednesday night, everyone. Remember, that'll be our last 8 o'clock show. We'll go over that context again next week. So until next week, again, for Elizabeth and Duke, I'm the Nighthawk. Be well, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya. Go Sox.